Hello, my name is Kate Smith. I am the founder and CEO of Therapeasy, Therapy Tools to Thrive, and I support families with neurodivergent children achieve regulation throughout the home. Hello and welcome. Today I am going to talk to you about anxiety and mental health and sensory processing. Okay, and the correlation between them. Because quite often we look at the diagnosis and we think anxiety, we've got cognition, sensory processing, it's the behavior and the body. So I want to really talk about it being together and a togetherness, okay? Because it is together. Our thoughts, our feelings, our behavior, and our physical sensations all influence one another to influence our mental health. Okay. But our physical sensations influence our feelings, influence our behavior, and our behavior influences our feelings and our thoughts. And they are all connected. So why do we always think, well, we've got to treat anxiety with a cognitive element and sensory kind of is a separate thing? Because we are sensory beings. We are sensory people. We do things, everything's got a sensory element to it. Even me sitting here right now, I've got sensory in relation to my touch processing, my body feedback, my body awareness, my movement, my vestibular system, all of these things. We are sensory beings, okay? And we connect and we bond through our senses with other people and within our mind-body connection. So I want to talk to you about optimal zone and this diagram. Okay. Now, this diagram, we've got green and we've got black. We've got optimal zone in this middle section. This is where we want to be. This is our lower section when we're low in arousal, and this is our high section when we're higher in arousal. Okay. So if you think about sensory input throughout the day, our alarm clock goes off, the kids start shouting, we turn the light on, we get dressed, we get showered, we have our breakfast, we're here, okay? We're in the middle, we're in our optimal zone, we are good, we're engaged with life, we can do activities, we can interact the best way we can, all of those good things. But then what happens? Well, let's do this one, okay? So the green line. So we're good, we're engaged, we go to drop the kids off, we go to work, we have to maybe go for a walk at dinner time, then we're back in work, we have to sit quiet in a meeting, and then we're back up and we are here, we're going to go home, we've picked the kids up, we're going to have tea, we're going to watch telly, we're going to chill out, and then we lower our arousal gradually to be able to go to sleep. If we get to the point where we're okay and we're ready and we're good to go, but then the children won't get dressed, and then they won't brush their teeth, and then they don't want what you've made for breakfast, and then they won't transition to the car, you are up here at the high level of arousal. You might still be okay, you might still be functioning, but you're at the higher level of arousal. You then get stuck in a traffic jam, and the teacher tells you off for being late. Okay, so your arousal is heightened. Your thought pattern might be, I'm such a bad mum that I always drop them off late. I've forgotten their PE kit. All of these automatic negative thoughts. I'm always late. No one else is ever late, and really criticize yourself. And then you worry and you overthink things, and then that is triggered by the anxiety. Okay, so that's the anxiety. So we're then here, we get to work, our boss tells us off, but we then have some strategies to be able to hopefully calm our body down and get back into the optimal zone. But then what happens is you get a phone call from school, and then there's been an issue at school and you have to go and pick the kids up. So you're back into that high level arousal because you haven't quite got back down into this kind of zone. You're still quite high at this top zone. So then you're easily triggered back into this high level. And it is the same for children, okay? So if children are at school and they're functioning at this high level here, and then somebody touches them, or the fire alarm goes off, or they get told to stop doing something, whatever it might be, they will be easily triggered into this high level of arousal. Okay, because their automatic negative thoughts and arousal come hand in hand. So when our sensory needs are heightened, our anxiety heightens. Okay, we're in fight or flight. Uh, and when our anxiety is heightened, our sensory needs are heightened. So they come hand in hand in relation to anxiety and mental health. And it is so important that we stop supporting this approach as individual, and we support it as a whole approach, and really support their anxiety and the mental and the sensory processing and the mental health together, particularly for children who have sensory processing difficulties. Because if a child has sensory processing difficulties, so the sensory processing difficulties is here, their emotional regulation is here. So with these sensory processing difficulties, emotional regulation stuff will always be more challenging because the sense that foundational sensory processing difficulties hasn't been progressed and developed. So that emotional regulation will have limited amount of progression. So we've got to work foundationally with that sensory processing. And it's the same for any kind of mental health and sensory needs. You know, children who are going through puberty, their body change, their sensory processing needs change, their anxiety levels change, their perception of the world changes. And that's what we've got to remember in relation to anxiety, particularly, that it's our perception. It's our perception of the event. You know, you might perceive the same event one way and I'll perceive it a very different, and might trigger anxiety in you and not in me. It is very personal for our biology, our history, our sensory processing, our ability to regulate all these things. And that is why it's so fundamental, that why I support families and parents and children to really connect up to be able to support it. Because if the lower brain, the regulation element of the brain, isn't regulated, that higher level cognition of problem solving and rational thinking and all of those elements will not be able to be accessible. You just won't be able to access that higher level brain. You won't be able to problem solve. You won't be able to rationalize with your child. And that is why if you try and do that during a meltdown or crisis or whatever it may be, you get nothing, because that higher level brain activity is too much. We need to focus on the lower level of the brain activity to be able to regulate the body and regulate the nervous system to then support the cognitive side of anxiety. So as one increases, so does the other. And it's around balancing them both and really supporting both to be able to calm and manage the nervous system, because they're all interconnected. And it is so fundamentally important that is what treatment is supported for children, whether that's via school, whether that's via through therapies, whether that's via through parents. But we've got to look at this much more holistically to be able to support children's mental health and their sensory processing needs. So I hope you have found this video useful. Please click like and comment below if you have any questions. And if you want to get in touch with me and ask anything about any of this I've talked about, just drop me an email at hello@therapeasy.com, or you'll find us on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok. Right, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you very much for joining me. Speak soon.